subscribers and honoured guests. If you were the lucky recipient of the annual on Christmas Day and you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, just be aware that I'm going to be spoiling some things here. Not the contents of the annual itself really, just the front cover and what's on the cover mounts. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the show. Welcome to a special episode of Cover Tape Chaos Zzapped The Next Generation, where I will be taking a look at all of the digital goodies that come with the Zzap Annual 2022, either contained in a zip file or as a physical disc or tape if you supported that tier on Kickstarter. I wanted to hold off on uploading this one until after Christmas so that the cover and the disc contents wouldn't be spoiled if you happen to be getting this as a Christmas present. Time to get stuck into our festive feast. We begin with Scramble Infinity, which is a newly released version of the classic Konami arcade game with updated graphics. This project, which has been developed by Lars Verhoef, has been in production for a long time, way back till 2009 in fact, but now it's finally here and is included exclusively on the Zzap Annual 2022 Covermount. In terms of gameplay, it does feel and play just like the classic Scramble you may remember, even down to the types of enemy encountered on each stage. I do think it does still hold up to this day and offers a fun, challenging blast. The more detailed graphics probably won't be everyone's cup of tea, as there will be purists who would rather keep the simple style of the arcade original. Those people might be happier playing Thomas Kite's version of the game instead. For me, the change in look doesn't bother me too much, and I will happily play either of them. Overall, we have definitely started this episode with a banger, but there is still plenty more to see. Next up is a demo of an upcoming title called Robot Jet Action, developed by Tomasz Mielnik, Karian, and Kamil Warnikowski, Jammer. Behind the deceptively cutesy graphics lies an incredibly challenging little game that is reminiscent of the classic Bomb Jack. I do like how you can choose a level from each of the 6 worlds, so even if you struggle to complete any of them like me, you can still get to experience a decent chunk of the game. The idea is to try and collect all of the objects of a certain type, which changes on each world, to complete the stage. Your little robot only has a limited supply of jet fuel though, so you'll have to land on platforms to allow it to recharge. There are roaming enemies, spikes on the floors and ceilings, and stars dotted around that will kill you. I thought those stars were part of the background or a collectible the first time I played the game, so I came a cropper when I touched them. This is a highly polished game that I found a tad frustrating, but I was never any good at Bomb Jack either, to be fair. It's worth checking out anyway. This next demo absolutely blew me away, but the file provided digitally is a cartridge, so you probably won't be able to make it work easily on your real C64 unless you have a Kung Fu Flash or something like that. Given what the demo is though, I'm not at all surprised that it does need the cartridge format to function. What we have here folks is Street Fighter II Championship Edition, which when finished will include all the characters fully playable, including the 4 bosses and every stage from the original arcade game. Some of these stages in the demo are still work in progress, as indicated by the yellow Men at Work sign, but the finished ones do look really good, and the classic soundtrack also sounds quite nice in SID form. All of the moves for each character are possible with just one fire button, which in itself is quite the achievement, and I was able to pull off all of Ryu's special moves myself without too much difficulty. This is a really exciting project which is probably still a little ways away from completion, but I think it will be well worth the wait. In the meantime, this is a really enticing glimpse of things to come and an amazing inclusion with the annual. The penultimate playable demo is Munchkin 64, which is a Commodore 64 version of the classic Magnavox Odyssey 2 game, Casey Munchkin. The demo gives you a taste of the classic mode and a new mode with a more modern art style, and the gameplay is basically Pac-Man with a few differences. There are a lot fewer dots that you need to collect to finish a level, which I would imagine was because of the memory constraints of the original hardware when the game was first created. Not a bad maze game really, but not something I find especially exciting to play nowadays. The final playable demo is from a game called Hext, which will also be extremely familiar to you as soon as you begin playing it, because it is essentially Q*bert, slightly annoying controls and all. The idea is to bounce from hex to hex and change them all to the target colour, and then repeat on the next harder stage. As you progress, several different types of enemy will be introduced, including eyeballs that will change the colour of the hex's back, and skulls that zoom straight at your character in an attempt to kill you. You'll also have to change the colour of the hexes multiple times as the stages advance. Much like Munchkin 64, this is another decent version of an old idea, but I struggled to get too excited about another version of Q*bert. As usual, there are a few exclusive bonus goodies to round out the cover mount this time. We have 2 different Christmas demos One from the Zzap staff, with a very long scrolly message that's worth reading through once to see what Merman and Perifractic have to say, and then a more animated one with a much shorter scrolly message from the fine chaps at Icon64. Finally, there is a very nice piece of art with a tune to accompany it, presented by Hakuto Force. All in all, this is definitely another solid selection of stuff for us to enjoy, with my only slight criticism being that there's not a lot of originality on show. Every game here is either a version of a classic game or heavily inspired by one, so I'm hoping for some brand new ideas on the cover mounts going forward. It must be incredibly hard pulling all this stuff together though, so Jazzcat deserves a lot of respect for consistently managing to do so for each issue of Zzap and the annual as well. With that, I have come to the end of another episode. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel and sharing on social media. I might be able to get another video done before the end of the year, I'm not sure at the moment, but keep an eye out for one. In the meantime, take care.